Welcome to the Honest Hippie Podcast, with a podcast for health professionals and the wider community. We're going to explore diversities in health, ask some hard questions, and have some honest conversations. My name is Archie. I'm an EP based on Sydney's Northern Beaches, and joining me as always is Allied Health Persona Andrew. Andrew, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm very well today. It is a Tuesday evening, 6:37 p.m. for me right now. What time is it for you, Andrew?
It is 3:37 p.m. So I feel quite a bit funny having a beer at 3:30. I just picked up my son from school and now it's beer time. So
let's crack a beer, then we'll talk about why.
I'm not sure how good at parenting that example is that I'm setting, but at least I have got an amazing stubby holder.
Oh,
an amazing stubby holder.
That is incredible. Wow. What the fuck is an EP?
What the fuck is an EP?
Now,
makes the beer taste even better.
For those who didn't see on our Instagram, at Christmas, we had a Secret Santa, and we have a team of, well, you know, how many people on the rebound team?
30 odd.
30 odd. And we had a Secret Santa, and what are the odds? But I get you for Secret Santa. I go, great. That's awesome for a start. Because then I was like, well, why don't I make our first ever bit of Honest EP merch? I was like, I will make some stubby holders. So I made a stubby holder that says the Honest EP on it. And then on the back of it, it says, what the fuck is an EP?
It's very good.
It's very good.
Very nicely.
It is. Yeah, it's popping. And I have more than one of them. So I have about 20 of them. Oh no, about 30 of them printed already in a box in the room I'm in right now at home. And I thought that they would make wonderful gifts for anyone who comes on our podcast as a guest to start. And then,
I like that.
If they are ever so popular, maybe I will make more and disperse them throughout the public.
Well, they are excellent quality. They are very topical for an EP. And yes, 10 out of 10.
Thank you. The idea being that if you are having a beer, it's likely you're in a social situation, and if you're using a stubby holder and it says, what the fuck is an EP on it, then someone is likely to say, what the fuck does an EP? Why does it say that? And you go, well,
funny you ask.
Do you know what an EP is? And then we can get into it, and then we are spreading awareness of EP. So perhaps I've given us our slogan by accident there. I'm using a very different stubby holder today.
The wedding stubby holder.
That's my wedding. It is a stubby holder of my own wedding. That's right. What are you drinking?
Today I have a Gauge Roads because I am in Western Australia, and I have a hazy hazy pale ale, which is a very good pale ale.
Yeah, you've had it before?
I haven't had this one before, but Gauge Roads is it's obviously bigger in WA than it is in Eastern land. But yes, it's just down the road from me here. So
nice.
It is a good beer. What
are
you
drinking?
That?
I'm drinking a Bolter Hazy Pale Ale because that's what was in my fridge from the weekend, and it is a very yummy beer. But hazies at the moment, I'm very much enjoying. They are a great beer. Everyone's making them, which is good. Like every brewery we go to has a hazy of sorts, and you know they're not overpowering, but they add a bit more flavor. They're strong enough, which is good. It's great. Yep. Great beer. Great beer.
Great Tuesday afternoon beer.
Great Tuesday 3:30 p.m. beer. Oh dear. All right, let's address the elephant in the room and the topic of this podcast. Why are you in Perth?
It's warmer than Sydney.
Is it?
It is warmer. It is also drier. The humidity in Sydney was kind of getting to me. So that was the primary reason why we decided to relocate our family over to Perth. Not the fact that my wife grew up here or that, all of our family is here,
No,
but
that's not important.
it's the weather. Yeah,
It's
100%.
definitely the weather. Slightly less humidity, slightly drier. Yeah, definitely not Brooks family. That makes sense.
Correct.
Wow.
Yep.
So tell me, when did you move to Perth? I know the answer, but no one else does.
We what we wanted to do was because our kids are in year five and year two, so we kind of wanted them to finish up the school year last year, and then over Christmas and New Year's we drove across to WA, spent 3 weeks driving, and got here mid-January.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a great trip. Now I want to use this episode, and I am aware that this is our first episode of 2026, which is also our sixth year of having released a podcast, which is very exciting. I'm not going to say that it's our sixth year of podcasting because there's a year or two in there where we might have released like 5 episodes. So,
Yeah.
but it is the sixth year that we have had a podcast, and we haven't done an episode in about 3 months because of this move that's happened. So, I want to use this episode to talk about. It's like, well, you run a Northern Beaches based allied health clinic of 30 odd people, and you have uprooted your family and moved. Well, you've already got roots in Perth, but you've moved across the country 5,000 kilometers away full
Mm,
time, and you're
mm,
living in Perth now. And I
mm,
wanted to talk about, well, that's a big move for one, for you as a personally, but also business wise, the logistics of doing that and being the director of a company remotely requires a lot of thought, a lot of planning, and a lot of contingencies, a lot of things you had to set up in the lead up to it. And I thought that would be a very interesting thing to hear more about from your side of things.
mm.
So here we are. I thought we'd start with uh, when did the planning start? So after you'd made the decision, because obviously you make a decision like this over a long period of time, and there's a lot of going back and forth and whatnot. But after you've made the decision, uh, how much time did you spend planning the business side of this?
Oh, the planning side of things was probably like in terms of making the decision and then having clarity on like what it needed to look like in order for me to be able to remove myself physically from the business, probably 3 months. Like there was a lot of, there's a lot of understanding about what are the components that I had to do that had to be done in person, and who is the best person or the best role to transition those things across into. There was definitely like a psychological guilt component to this of like, how am I going to be able to continue to uh, add value to the business when I'm not there as often physically. And so that was sort of that is still a journey that I'm still going on. But um, and then there was, okay, well, if I have an idea about what the outcome looks like, it was going around and speaking to people that had done something similar, and what are their learnings? What would they have done differently to get it into? So the whole like planning side was probably 3 months of like being very clear on what it needed to look like.
That is a lot faster than I was expecting. I thought you were going to say 9 to 12 months.
Well, that's the planning. Then there's the implementation, and
Right.
the implementation was probably 9 to 12 months for sure.
Okay. Oh, I understand now. So it's not the 3 months before you left you're talking about 3 months, 12 months ago is when you did that
Correct.
planning. Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who were
And so
the, sorry, go on.
once I had clarity on what it needed to look like, then it was okay, well now I get to work to create roles in the business, to shift responsibilities around, and to sort of equip ourselves for, again, like I said before, the parts of the role that I would be able to do remotely and stuff that needed to be done on the ground. Um, transitioning those responsibilities to people in the clinic.
Wow. So you talk to some of your own mentors and other people you know from the allied health world. Who are these people and have they done similar moves to you?
They have done similar moves for different reasons, and their businesses look different, right? But there was definitely some commonalities that existed when you look at people that had actually done this successfully, and by successfully, I define success in this as they moved and the business kept growing. And
Yep.
that was what I wanted. Like that was a non-negotiable for this. Like it can't be a matter of um, I move and the business plateaus or the
Mm,
business declines. Success, like the people that I spoke to, were people that had managed to continue their growth
mm,
without being there as frequently as they had been before.
mm. Wow. Okay. And so they were allied health, similar goals to you, but different situations to what you were doing specifically, or different
Correct.
structured businesses.
Yeah, different, different size clinics, different ways that the clinics operated. We've had Mick Risk on this podcast before,
Mm,
and one of the things, certainly within like the private practice clinic mastery communities that Mick is known for, is that like his clinics don't have admin, right? So there is a
mm,
lot more onus on responsibility on practitioners, because that's all that's in the business, to do the full suite of client journey touch points. And that's not a model that we wanted to replicate because, like, with our business, we choose to have admin, and that's not something that's be like, oh, he did it, so like we should do the same
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But what you learn from that is, well, how do you create the system? How do you train people, induct people? How do you give people that knowledge to be able to do all of that
Mm,
and not have to be like on the ground overseeing, making sure that it's being done properly.
mm, mm,
So it's more, yeah, looking at what the successful people did and like what are the like mistakes or things that they would have done differently if they were to do it again.
Can you talk to me about what the things that they did that worked, that was successful, that you copied, and the mistakes that they did that you learned from?
The mistakes is around accountability. And the mistake is like if you're not going to be there physically, not that you micromanage it as an owner, but like if you're not going to be there physically, how do you ensure that all of the processes get followed properly? Because we've
Right.
spent fucking 3 years building systems and processes and that sort of stuff. And the challenge can be that when there's not somebody there, not micromanaging, but just there to uphold those processes and standards, then the wheels fall off.
Mm,
And I think one of the mistakes is like there had been less systemization done prior to the owner leaving. And so they were sort of putting out spot fires on like, why did you answer the phone like that? Or
mm,
um, uh, that program that we started running, like, why did you start
mm,
doing that? Because
mm,
that's not a good commercial idea for a business. So it's more like how do you create accountability and assure that the way that the business has been operating with you there continues to run without you being there?
right. Gotcha.
So
And
the
was
short answer is systems.
and was that a people thing for you, or was that a written systems? What was that?
It was more which accountability sits with the right role.
Right.
So for clarity, we have got uh, we have got clinic directors, which is a role that we brought in to facilitate me not being there in person to make sure that the clinics operationally run well and that the clinics continue on their sort of growth trajectory. And then we've got our clinician heads who are responsible for looking after the well-being, professional development, team development, program development of our
Mm-hmm.
practitioner team.
Yeah.
Um, and And then we have an operations side, which is more again, like making sure that the systems get run. And so
Mm,
it was a process of like going, well, what tasks should sit within each role? And then how do you train people to be able to do those roles well? What does accountability look like to those roles, which is often the bit that as allied health business owners, as business owners generally, we tend to
mm,
skip.
yeah.
Accountabilities are assumed, and there's not been like a clear way for when you give somebody a role, how do you know that they're doing that role well? Um, and then what are the things that might go wrong? And how can we like future forecast challenges that might come up and then build that into the way that we create the system? So
That comment on accountability is quite interesting in terms of if you give someone a role, how do you make sure that they are performing uh, the requirements of that role? And people are scared of overstepping and, in inverted commas, micromanaging. So accountability without having to check over someone's shoulder and make sure they're doing it all the time must be an interesting balance there, because that doesn't actually solve the problem of your time, because then you're still doing it all the time, right?
correct. Yes.
So what's the balance there? How do you ensure accountability of someone performing their role without having to micromanage?
Part of it is not having too many KPIs or CEIs or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? It's
Performance
still
indicators.
it's a performance indicator. You can wrap it up in whatever bow you want to call it. Um, but I think, if you were to give somebody 20 different performance indicators, it's too many, right? And then people don't understand what the priorities actually are when there are so many. So part of this process is like, what are the top 3 to 5 performance indicators for this role? And what's the best way for them to like report back on those things that doesn't involve me trying to go and find it?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like it should be simple enough that it should take 3 to 5 minutes to do,
Mm.
and that sort of gets reported back on a cadence that is appropriate for the task.
For example, with us, that might be a weekly report of numbers, new clients, cancellation rate, rebooking.
Correct.
And that's something that you can look at clearly. If you want to investigate further, you can, or ask
Yep.
follow up questions, you can. But you can also just get a snapshot week to week of what's happening.
It's so from an operations perspective, it is the number of inquiries we've had, the number of conversions, so the number then of people that have actually gone from an inquiry into a booking. Like you said, cancellation rate, because that is something that is within their control, and the ability to follow systems.
Mm.
From a uh, from a clinic director perspective, uh, it is a very numbers heavy sort of KPI. So we're talking about revenue, we're talking about profitability of that specific clinic, and we're talking about networking opportunities. So these are
Right.
the networking things that we've done in the last week and that we're doing next week, because that's sort of like a leading indicator for the likelihood of more people coming into the clinic in the future. Like if we're doing lots of networking, then and we've got the right people doing it and all that, then like it's likely that that will result in versus if we do nothing, then it's
Yep.
likely that that won't work. Um,
Right. If you're only looking at the numbers from this week and not looking at any performance indicators for what might lead to good numbers in the next month.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the point of this is that like there shouldn't be too many. There should just be a few, and the people that have got responsibility for those, again, like we said before, they know what is in their wheelhouse to be able to move the needle on those numbers.
Yeah.
Because you can't just give somebody a KPI without the tools to be able to improve it or understand how that number is generated. Otherwise, you're setting that person up for failure.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And if in this situation where you're uh, stepping away physically and working remotely, setting someone up for failure is just setting up yourself for failure.
Correct. Yes,
Mm,
it's not conducive to growth.
no. So uh, going back a couple steps there and talking more about mistakes that other owners have made then or other directors have made then, what other mistakes did people make that you went, I'm going to make sure that I do not do that, or I'm going to make sure that that is part of my implementation to make this work better or successful?
Mhm. Oh, this is a fluffy answer, but I think it's an important
I
answer,
love fluffy answers.
which is values alignment, vision alignment. Like, why do we exist? What is the impact that we're having? And if if somebody has got an issue that they know what the best course of action is to be able to get that reconciled. Um, I think from speaking with people that have, done similar things, when not necessarily if it's done quickly, but like when there's not preparation done, um, those questions ruminate in the back of the team. It's like, oh, they've gone now, but I've got a problem and I don't know how to get that problem fixed. And there can be hesitation in that person then trying to like ask around to find the answer. Um, like it's a partly a systems answer, but it's more like people know where to find the answers to things
Mm, yeah,
so
yeah,
that they feel more in control about
sure. So that feels like a systems thing, right?
it. It is a systems thing, but it's not just like, but it needs to become real. I think
Right.
that's the thing that I'm trying to explain. Like, it's easy to say, like, go and look in the HQ go and look in the intranet, go and look in the drive for the answer to the question. Um, but there almost needs to be a confidence that the answer exists somewhere,
Right.
which is something that you kind of have to build over time.
Mm, gotcha. I want to talk a little bit about the values alignment and vision because that's something that I've noticed that you have spent more time on in the last year. Not that we didn't spend time on that previously. We've always spent a lot of time on values alignment and vision, but even more in the last year, and we've revamped that and changed that, and you've
Mm.
made that a big focus. And I imagine that's because that was part of your plan implementing to make this move work. Is that right?
It is, but it's also a component of like very successful businesses,
Right.
not just outside of allied health. Like, um, it it should almost feel culty, not in a bad way, but as in like it is very clear when there is a person that is going to do really well at our clinic versus someone that is not.
Yeah.
And I think the process that you were talking about there was just about refinement because we
Mm.
have we have refined our values three, maybe
Yeah.
four times
Yeah. At
over the
least.
years. Um, I'm not really counting the first one because the first one was more like, oh, that's a good value. We
Sure.
should do that.
Yeah. We'll take
Um,
Nike's one.
yeah, yeah, let's just do it. Um, but but because those values are so us, it's so easy to work out when we're going through recruitment, for example, or when we've got our amazing student program and we're like looking for the people that are like, yes, this is the person that we want to
Yeah.
keep on the bench. Um, it's so easy to be able to go, yes, like they are an us person.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, which means that, well, that's just a win-win-win situation, right?
For sure.
Um, it's a win to that practitioner because they get to come into like a very values aligned business.
Mm, mm.
It's a win for the people that support them because although there might be challenges with the way that they are um, working sometimes, the reality is that like they are motivated to be here. We just
Yeah.
need to help them.
Yeah.
Um, and then that creates a more tight-knit team. And so
Absolutely.
it's just a win-win-win. Um,
Nice.
so the values thing is like it's something that we have very much doubled down on because it's also now to the point that like I don't do recruitment
Mm. Yeah.
because we have such good values alignment and the senior people in our team can look at potential applicants and use our values as a filter to work out whether or not this person is going to fit well with us. That means the recruitment can happen without me in the room interviewing and asking questions.
Absolutely.
So I have full confidence that when we need to recruit, the leaders in our team are able to select the right people.
They'll get it done. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So when we're talking about values and vision as well, I want to include in this. Is a business ever or a company too small to start putting together their values and their vision? Because I know this works for you and at this size because of all these flow on effects of now I don't need to be part of recruitment. And now I know that even when I'm not there physically, the business will keep running and the company will keep working and the culture will maintain the same because of what we've built values and vision wise. Do you think this is it's ever too early to start that in a small business?
Not at all. Never.
Would you go about it differently or is it the same?
What do you mean?
Say you're a business of, you're a practitioner and you're the owner, you are not full time practicing anymore. Maybe you're, 80% of full time practicing and you're doing 20% on the business or somewhere between 50 and 80%. And then
Mm.
you have, 2 to 4 practitioners with you and that's the clinic. Would you treat the process the same way? Knowing that if you maybe there is more pressure on you hiring someone
Mm.
because if you don't hire someone to replace someone that you need hiring, who's left for whatever reason, that's 20% of the business.
Yeah. And that's true. Um, and oftentimes there, you can place that pressure on yourself to make those hiring decisions. And I suppose, one of the things that I've come to realize over just the last 3 or 4 months is that, there are lessons that you can teach people, but then there are lessons that you have to go through yourself
Absolutely.
to really appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think recruitment falls into that box.
God, yeah.
I think that if you are in that position, and like we've done this,
Yeah.
where we have felt pressure because somebody's leaving and there's a full caseload. It's like, well, fuck, we've got to get somebody in because where else are these people going to go?
Yeah.
And so you compromise on the person, and it creates a different problem.
Mm.
Now so then it's sometimes the like, what is the lesser of two evils in that situation? Do you hire somebody knowing that this is not the perfect person? And the potential for that is that there might be conflict with that person in the future, or there might not be. Or do you wait? In which case you take a hit on revenue, you take a hit on people that are referring to you, but you don't compromise on those standards. There's not necessarily a right or wrong, but I think my perspective on that now is that the amount of headaches that are created when we hire the wrong people is not worth the the revenue that we lost for
Yeah.
that person. It might have slowed our growth a little bit, um, but I think it's a reality that most business owners would have to face at some point in time. And again, like I speak from the perspective of having gone through that a few times, that I can comfortably say that we should not do that again. Um, but that doesn't mean I don't get it.
I I went through that last year when we unfortunately lost two practitioners to, you know, very valid opportunities and a change of career. And we had applicants that we could have hired to fill those roles. They were staggered, but to fill those roles and cover the caseload immediately, or we could continue to cover as an existing team, be working more hours, doing some overtime, and pushing through for a couple months to wait for the right person. And having hired the wrong people in the past, previously as a business, we made the choice to wait and trust the existing team to push through. And it was tough, but at the other side, the lessons we learned and that the outcome was we hired the right person and the team culture is as good as it's ever been. And we didn't bring in someone into the fold that we weren't 100% sure on, which may have led to a flow-on effect of someone who is already existing in the team being unhappy in the future and going, well, no, we need to cover this person's caseload right now. And you go, this isn't the right person, but we need it. But as a flow-on effect, you could end up losing someone else because they're here because they love their job and they love their teammates. And if you compromise that culture or that team dynamic, maybe you end up losing two good people.
Correct. Maybe you create yourself months of headaches because this person is not values aligned, not clinically aligned, resistant to change, resistant to development. And you've solved the first problem of like maintaining the clinic's revenue, but you've just kicked the can down the road and created a different problem of, well, now the team's frustrated and you've
Yeah.
got other people threatening to leave because they're not happy because like, why is this person here?
Yeah.
Um, yes, there's sometimes it's not easier, but it's like this is a values aligned business, right? It's a business that chooses to say no because that doesn't fit with our values.
Yeah. And we
And
trusted
that's
that process. Yeah.
we trusted that process. The values that we have are not just like statements, they are behaviors. And that makes it very easy for us to be able to identify values aligned versus non-aligned
Yeah.
people or partners or things like this, which again that's then teachable. Like you can teach that process. You're not relying on gut feel for is this person right? I got good vibes from them, so like that's a maybe. But like, what are the interview questions that we need to ask to see whether or not the behavior of this person is in alignment with our values or their values for um, for a more comprehensive look.
Absolutely. And now we have multiple stories of that we can teach and recount to members of the team and show that it worked and show that it was worth it.
It is, but it's like you have to get there, right? And I think
Yeah.
this is one of the things that Mick does incredibly well in his clinics is tell the stories of culture,
Yeah.
like um, times where we fucked up, times where we've made mistakes, not shying away from them, but this is the lesson that we learned from this, and here's what we're going to put in place to try and prevent that thing from happening again in the future.
He does do that very well. I agree. I feel like most of the times I've heard Mick talk has been him telling stories about his own experience, and it was a lesson from something that he did wrong and tried something, and then learned from it, and then implemented a system or a value to make sure that it's better in the future.
Mm.
He's very good at doing that. Oh, well done, Mick. Just thought of that. I see how he does it. I see. Very smart. All right, cool. Nice. So, uh, looking back on the last 12 months, 9 to 12 months then of you planning your move to Perth, what are some of the most important changes that you made to how the business runs to make this possible?
There were, like I said, there were a couple of principles or filters that I had to use to be able to work out what was going to be important and what was not. The first one is growth, right? I didn't want the business to stagnate. I wanted it to keep growing. But I needed to articulate what specifically growth looks like. And then you need to essentially give somebody the role of growth. Like when I say growth, what do I actually mean?
Yeah.
Do I mean just more humans that are part, maybe, but also maybe not? Um, More humans would probably be a lagging indicator of growth.
Yeah.
It'd be like, what are the partnerships that we are developing in the community? Who are the people that are referring to us now, and what are the opportunities for more people to be able to refer to us? Um, uh, which comes to like that is top line revenue. And so because I am not going to be there physically, it's very difficult for me to go and do a GP meeting down the road. So who is the best person to do that? Well, we created the role of a clinic director to tick both of those boxes, to be the
Nice.
primary person to go to, primary person to coordinate our hyper local networking. So within a 5 kilometer radius of the clinic,
Yep.
but they are accountable for revenue and profit growth. That's how they know they're doing their job well,
Nice.
which is more new people coming in, more new clients coming in, and retaining those clients through their cycle of care with us.
So very few actual KPIs for them to measure success off,
Very few.
which is important, as you mentioned already.
It keeps the focus because when you sort of give somebody like operational charge of a clinic, you can go fucking into the weeds of it. You can be like, we need a RoboVac to vacuum up which you should do.
Which
Apparently
we
that works.
did. I hope someone at Brookie hears this because Andrew said that the RoboVac wouldn't last 3 months. And he just said that it's a good idea
I
and
was
you
very
should get
skeptical.
one.
I was very
It's
skeptical,
working. Deebs is
but it's
working.
working. It's very working. Um, and here's where we've sort of gone to that next step, which again, this is not a recommendation. This is just something that we did, where because they're accountable for revenue and profit, right? So the clinic has got to be growing and maintaining its level of profitability. We then tied rewards to those things.
Nice.
So those people I hope, feel a sense of ownership that when the clinic does well, they do well. Because
That's great.
part of this process, part of this accountability thing is like, this comes from Nassim Taleb, is the concept of skin in the game, right? Like giving people an opportunity to actually benefit when the business benefits. Yes, you are paid to do a job, but if you're rewarded when the business does well, you give a little bit more.
Interesting. How do you make sense of that concept and the concepts in Drive, which are about intrinsic motivation over extrinsic motivation for long term happiness, job satisfaction?
One of those filters that we had to create not the create that I used to work out like these roles and things like that is um, my I have a desire statement, right? I have clarity on where I want to be in 3 years' time and in 10 years' time, from all the different components, from finances to family to well-being to professional development to all these things. Um, One of the filters was this has to lead to people being able to hit their desire statements.
Cool.
The vision for the business has to be big enough so that people have the opportunity to hit their desire statement goals. And the concepts in Drive around autonomy, mastery, and purpose, right? So autonomy exists within a framework. Autonomy exists when people know what they are accountable for, have got the resources to be able to influence the outcome of the things that they are accountable for, and be rewarded when they achieve that thing. Autonomy is not an absence of micromanagement. Like autonomy is not just go and do the things and figure it out and hopefully it works. And if it doesn't, I don't want to hear about it. And I think in the past, we've been so scared of micromanaging people that we don't hold people accountable.
Mm.
That when we're talking about leadership roles now, because we're not talking about like just clinicians whose sole
Yeah.
responsibility is to take care of clients.
Yeah.
We're talking about people whose responsibility is to grow a business or to look after the humans that exist within a business.
Yeah.
Autonomy means that they are clear on what they are responsible for, they've got the tools, and they're rewarded when they do it.
Nice.
Mastery is the ability to improve and the of the exposure that we can get into these roles of different ways of working, different things that different clinics have done, for example, to be like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe we should try something similar here to see if that works. And then autonomy is the ability to go and trial that within sort of a safeguard.
Cool.
Purpose is well, it's sort of both of those things, right?
Yeah.
It's like I because we allow people a degree of rope to be able to go and try things, and people are never criticized for going and trying things. That there is a culture of you can't just go and try anything you want because some things we just know are bad ideas. But like if I've got an idea, I know who I can go to have a conversation about whether or
Yeah.
not this thing is a good idea. I've got support from different people in the business to be able to put a framework around this, and then I can go and lead that initiative.
Yeah.
Like Jasper.
What did Jasper do?
Jasper, you probably know much more about this than I do, but Jasper started a prostate cancer group.
Yeah, he noticed that in some of our existing kind of general group classes, that there were quite a few participants who all had prostate cancer, were all on ADT, and he felt like there were some things that they were holding back from conversation or they were missing out on from a social standpoint and connecting with similar people, going through similar things. Then he's like, what if all these guys just did a group together and I made a group for men with going through prostate cancer treatment? And he thought about it. And then about a month and a half later, we started the class. And there are 4 guys straight into it. And they love it. That's awesome.
Yep. Amazing.
So cool. But we've started so many programs, so many classes, made so many different connections and networks and partnerships based on that idea of autonomy, that if you have an idea, you know who you can go to discuss that idea, work out, is this something that we could do within our clinic and within our role? And how can we empower you to go and explore it after assessing and working out what would be the best way to go about this. So there's definitely like a strong amount of psychological safety of people going, it's like, I am comfortable to bring up this thing.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but I know that I'm not going to be shut down and told that it's a bad idea.
Mm.
I know that if I have an idea, I am safe to bring it up, and I know who I am safe to bring it up with, and going from there.
Psychological safety is hugely important. And if any of our audience is from Victoria, like that is now being brought in, that there is a framework that you must apply to be a psychologically safe workplace.
What?
Yeah, it's coming in. It might have been in now, or it's in the process of coming in. Um, so I know the question that will be going through a lot of people's minds is like, how do you create that? Like, how do you arrive at the place where there is psychological safety in a workplace?
Well,
How did you know that Jasper would be able to come to you? Or how did Jasper know that he would be able to come to you with this idea?
well. Firstly, I'm his mentor, his clinical mentor. So he knows that anything he can bring to me, and I'm not just his clinical mentor, but like I leave plenty of space and room in my one-on-ones with people to talk about anything. So he knows that anything he wants to talk about with me, he can talk about with me, and I leave space to do that. I don't just go, right, talk to me about your clients and your networking, and that is all. We leave that space open for other things. Sorry, you want to ask something?
I do, because I want to go like a level deeper, because I could imagine that there are scenarios where mentors are following the script. You know, it's like ask these 5 questions during a mentoring session and tick, mentoring is done. Because you can do that and create psychological safety, or you can do that and not create psychological safety.
So I'm rereading Dare to Lead by Brené Brown, because it's been 7 to 8 years, and I remember like 3 words from it, which is clear as kind and unclear as unkind. I was like, now I feel like she mentioned more than that in the entire book, but I've now forgotten. So I was like, you know what? It's a banger. I'm going to go back. I'm going to reread it. So I've been rereading it, and when you're talking about psychological safety, the first things that come to my mind come from her, and it's building trust, and it's trust and vulnerability, and that there's not necessarily one that leads to the other, but they kind of stack and build on top of each other. So you allow some vulnerability with someone, whether you bring up something that's going on, or you allow yourself to say how you feel about something, and then you build some trust, and then you add in some more vulnerability, and then you build some trust, and you add in some more vulnerability, and you build some trust. Now, that doesn't mean that you just throw in something incredibly vulnerable, your deepest and darkest secrets onto someone that you don't know very well. That is kind of bombing someone with something that is not fair, and that can actually remove trust by doing that, because you're placing an unnecessarily emotional burden on someone that you have not built the foundations for that to be appropriate. So it's little bits and pieces, and it's building, and it's building, it's building. So in terms of what that looks like for me in a one-on-one mentoring session is I leave space every session to have a personal conversation. And now that might be 30 seconds, or it might be 20 minutes of our half-hour one-on-one. But whatever happens with that, I'm looking at the long-term view that is beneficial. And I'm not wasting my time by not getting to the specific client wins and not getting to reviewing the specific management plans that half hour, because I'm building up the trust in our relationship that person feels psychologically safe, that when there is something that they really do want to bring up, or I do need to address something with them and give some feedback or some criticism, that it's a safe environment and they know that I care personally about them and I know that that's going to land, or they know that they are safe to bring up whatever they're going to bring up with me.
I'm going to ask you a question. We might have touched on this before, so like maybe the answer can be like refined. Um, because I could also imagine some people hear that and be like, "Oh, that sounds like you're trying to be friends with them." If you're friends with someone, does that make it harder to give direct feedback to them? Like, would I not do that process out of fear that I'm going to build a personal connection with someone and that's going to make it harder for me in the future to have a difficult conversation with them?
My answer to that is, are they your real friends? Or is it a real friendship if you cannot say something directly to them?
Oh,
Because, like, I know that with all of my closest friends and friends, just friends in general, that I can say stuff directly to them because I built that relationship with them.
mm.
And I built that relationship based on, you know, honesty and trust and a level of vulnerability that we have with each other. And so I know that if I need to tell someone something, like they've said something that, has hurt me or that I think they're out of line, I can say that
Mm.
because, uh, because I built that.
Because the relationship's not going to fall over
Exactly.
because of that.
Yeah. Now the example that Brené Brown uses is example of a marble jar. So that if you imagine a jar of marbles that you have for each of your friends or each of the people you work with or whatever, and every time that you build a little bit of trust with them, whether they buy you a coffee or they check in with you after something hard happened or they give you a bit of praise or anything like that, you add a marble to the jar. You add a marble to the jar. And so then when you need to then say something to someone quite vulnerable, and you need to go to someone, you need someone for help, and you need to trust that person, well, you go to the person who's got the most marbles in the jar. And so little moments of vulnerability and little moments of building trust over a very, very long period of time helps build up that marble jar and helps create relationships where you can say stuff with people.
What are some examples of those things where people have come to you where you built the trust and that's allowed a conversation, like you obviously depersonalized and
Sure,
not, but like
sure.
what are some of those topics of conversation that people have felt safe enough to be able to come and actually have a conversation with you about?
Yeah. Uh, I don't think I love my job. I am looking at, uh, I'm on Seek and I'm looking at other jobs. But telling me 6 months in advance rather than when they're going through interviews and about to accept a job.
Yeah.
And then us talking through that and going, let's talk about why. And then getting to a point where it's like, yeah, I support your decision to do this. Even though them knowing it's like, this is a potential to hurt Archie's EP team. But I trust him enough to tell him early and it's not going to be awkward and he's not going to hate me for leaving.
Yeah.
Because I know that Archie actually cares about what I want to do and what's important for me. And like in terms of business wise, that is like I know this is very, very businessy, but that was the biggest example of that because them telling me that they were having those first thoughts of, I don't think this is where I want to be long term because it doesn't align with exactly what I want to do and what I'm passionate about. And them telling me that really early meant that I could be a reference for them and help them find another job. I could help them troubleshoot whether something would be a good role for them or not a good role for them. And it also meant that I could long term plan for my team as well.
Mm.
No, it's like, say this person finds a job and I get given 4 weeks' notice. I've got more than 4 weeks' notice because I've already been planning
Yeah.
for a long period of time, knowing that I don't necessarily need to action the plan, but at any point in time, if I got given 4 weeks, I know what I would be doing over the next 4 weeks,
Yeah.
as opposed
Nice.
to getting blindsided and someone going, "Hey, I'm leaving in 4 weeks' time."
Mm.
I've actually hated it here for ages, but I didn't want to tell you because that would be awkward, and then you'd probably fire me
Mm.
because you'd think I would start not working hard. I didn't know how you'd feel, and I didn't want to have to talk to you every week, and it would have been awkward with everyone. So I decided to just not say anything. It's like, no, they trusted me to tell me about it, and I kept it between us. I didn't tell anyone, but internally I was planning,
Mm.
and I told my mentor and she Lauren told you. So as a business, we were prepared for it, and it was then a very very amicable, very happy finish to someone working with us, and I still see them. I
Mm.
still hang out with them.
Yeah. Nice.
So I think that's probably the best example of, or one of the best examples of that being an important thing to do.
Plus, it's just a good thing to do, right? Like if you were to just focus on what exactly my KPIs are and only action things that are in alignment with that, then people would feel much less inclined to be able to have a conversation about that,
Exactly.
whether or not there are things that you could do to sway that person to stay or not stay or change their role or whatever. Um, the reality is that people come, people go. Um, People have multiple careers in their career.
Yeah.
And when you when you tell that story, right? When you tell that story, it allows other people to sort of bank that. It's a marble in their jar. It's like,
Absolutely.
oh, like I can have that conversation with him. I didn't know I could do that. I thought I had to hold that in and work it out myself. Um, which is again not with the intention of trying to retain every single person for the 50 years in their working career, but like to help them work out, is the reason that they are not feeling as satisfied as they want to be, is that something that we can influence, or is it something that they have to accept and decide whether or not that this is knowing that a place that I want to stay, or actually you've just given me the clarity of like, I think I need something different.
Yeah.
Both of those scenarios are good scenarios because we've helped that person become assured on what is the direction that their career wants to go in, which is the best outcome here.
Absolutely. It's absolutely the best outcome. And there are a, immediate flow and effects from that as well. That yes, the team knows that story now, which is great. And like you said about Mick, like he uses stories from his own business history to build the culture and build the values. So that's something that's part of our culture. It's like, hey, we bring up shit with each other. And we talk about it
Mm.
because we care. It's like we give a shit. That's one of our values. We give a shit.
Yeah.
Uh, there's also all of these other random positive flow and effects from just being good humans and making sure you care about your team. That if this person ever met another EP and they said, "Hey, what was it like working at Rebound?" They'll go, "It was great," and not that they have that sour taste in their mouth that it finished up really poorly.
It's not, it was great, but it was great for
Yeah.
the time
It,
that I'm there, and then I moved on.
exactly. It's not, it was great, but I moved because blah, or when I
Mm.
left, or they go, or why did you leave? It's like, well, I didn't leave because I didn't like the people, you know?
Mm.
I left because I was more passionate about something else. It's like,
Yeah.
great, awesome.
Legit. Yeah.
Yeah. Reputation wise, future recruitment, just values for the existing team and the future team,
Mm.
culture maintained, friendships, everything. And
Mhm.
that all just comes down to slowly building trust with people and not treating people as resources, you know? Oh, and
Mm.
going back to the like, oh, is it bad to have uh, your team as friends?
Mm.
Like, no. As long as like you like by friends, we have the same definition because like by friends, my definition is someone that I can talk to honestly, I can go to when I need help.
Mm.
I can be vulnerable with, and I trust when I'm talking to them about serious stuff.
And I think that that second point that you made is a point of internal restraint for a lot of business owners, where yes, obviously you need trust to be able to have this conversation, but for example, like I feel like I could come to you at some point in the future and be like, Archie, like I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I need some help in these particular areas. Would you be able to help me with this thing? I think there's a lot of business owners that would very much shy away from that because, like, my responsibilities are my own.
Mm.
And to exactly to your point, that a friendship, in inverted quotes, should be like a two-way thing. Not that
Yeah.
that's something that you want to do every week, but like, if they can come to me with that, then technically I should be able to go with to them as well. And I
Yeah.
imagine with the EP team, if there came a point in time where you've got a million things going on, you're super stressed, you're inducting seven people at a time, where whatever, that you would be able to go to them and say, guys, like I need some help.
Yeah.
I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling overwhelmed. These are the bits, not just like dumping on them, but like, I need help with this thing. Can somebody please help me? And you would have a chorus of people that would put their hand up and say, 100%, I'll help you. Tell me what you need.
That's exactly what happened. Like when I needed people to step up and uh, do some overtime uh, and cover for people's clients while we waited to hire someone. The team stepped up. The team stepped up, and they worked really hard, and it was tough, but they did it. And that's happened at all of our clinics now. When people have finished working with us, that people have covered and they've worked hard and they've done it because they value the team and they wanted to support. They wanted to help.
Mm.
And that's part of the team culture. Like now, those are good stories of how the team pushed through those times and came out better on the other side,
Mm.
which is awesome.
Mm.
Okay?
Yeah. What sets a standard, right? It sets a,
So that's the standard.
this is the way that we work.
Yeah,
You're in or you're out. And that's like,
that's
it's
it.
okay either way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, before we finish, you've technically been living in Perth for 6 weeks now, about.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you would have done differently and pass on those learnings to the next crop of people who are either moving to work remotely from their business or just stepping back in their business clinically or stepping back from a certain role they're currently doing in the business that you could pass on based on your experience?
Honestly, I'm going to double down on the accountability thing. Um, because being physically removed means that it's very easy to go searching for problems. It's very easy to be like going into, I'm not saying I do this, but it could be very easy to be like, oh, that practitioner, their diary is a bit, it's not where it should be. What should I do to fix that? Right. But that's not my job to do that. that's somebody else's job to do that. And provided they are like providing accountability back on, well, this is where it is now, these are the things that we're doing, this is what the expected outcome is going to be, then with that accountability comes an assurance to me. It's like, okay, great, they've got it. I don't need to worry about that. So I think because we set that up prior, that's working quite well. I don't think that's something that I could have, it'd have been much more friction to implement that post leaving than prior to leaving.
Oh yeah.
And I think this is probably one of the this is probably the answer to your question. It's like these rhythms, these um, like how the business is going to look when I left, it already looked that way while I was there. It's not like things changed after I left. My job stayed the same because we had worked for 9 months to be able to create these roles, give people the responsibility, train them to be able to do it, make sure they're accountable, and then provide that feedback back that it is being successful. That was already happening. So, like, there actually wasn't a change. And I think that's how you know that, okay, I can step back a little bit because stepping back for me was a process, right? Like there was a 3 year process where first I was in the clinic all the time. Then I went to when my son was born. I don't want to work Fridays anymore because I want to take him to swimming lessons and do that and be a dad. And then when the business got to a certain size and we had certain roles in the business, and my role became more project-based work rather than meeting after meeting after meeting, then what I found it was more conducive to have like 1 week in the clinic and then 1 week from home, so that I could put all my project stuff on my home week and then just be present in the clinic for the second week. And so by that time, I'd been doing that for like 18 months. By the time then it came to, okay, I'm going to be in the clinic 1 week out of 4, which is where I am now. That all of the things were being done anyway. It's not like I had like set everything up and I was waiting to pull the trigger of me leaving
Mm.
for these things to happen. Like, and I think this is probably where people like rush through it too quick.
Yeah.
They just decide to pull the trigger one day, but they haven't put the safeguards in place
Yeah.
to actually make sure. So, um, if it is something that, if you're an owner and you're thinking about being more remote, then like it has to work. That framework has to exist with you there before it works without you there, and it's not going to magically change overnight.
Yeah. And I think I can give positive feedback on that from my end, and that it doesn't feel different. Nothing has felt like it's changed at all.
Mm.
And then last week when you were in, it's like, oh, in person, sitting at a desk. But it didn't feel like you'd been away for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or however long it was at all. It's kind of felt like things had just kind of ticked along as normal, which is great.
Well, that's great, and that's something that we have been working on for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Beauty. Nice. Any last comments?
The hazy's gone down very well.
The hazy's great. How's
Very
your
well.
4:45? Feel like you've got a good little spring in your step?
Gonna go and help the kids with homework now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that'll be interesting.
Very good. Very, very good. Well, that sounds great. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will see you on the next podcast.